A glitch in the simulation. A program gone rogue. A consciousness beyond the brain. You have found the Phenomenauts podcast.
Hello, you system of complex programs emulating consciousness. You have tuned into the Phenomenauts podcast, a weekly show where we look at the weird, wonderful and mysterious happenstances of our and occasionally other universes. Taking you on this ride is myself, Dee Barnes, and the ever-awesome
Amber Hall.
We are a multi-platform podcast, so find us on YouTube, the new channel, the Phenomenauts podcast, and we're still going to be uploading to the old channel for a little while, but, you know, just make a mental note to switch over when you got time.
We are slowly fading into the new channel.
Slowly drifting into the Phenomenauts podcast channel. So do check us out over there.
Yeah.
And yeah, do check us out also on iTunes, Spotify, Transistor. Please do remember to do all the, the like, follow, share, subscribe, download, all that stuff. We just love it. It really helps us out.
Multiplat.
We've also got a new background.
Oh, yeah. Look at this setup. Oh my god.
And a new camera.
Ah, yes. The quality perhaps is a little bit different for those with a discerning eye. For those on iTunes, just ignore this bit.
Yeah. So Amber, how is it going?
Oh, it's okay. I decided that I might try and stop smoking today
okay.
at work. So that was an interesting one. My friend was just like, I think 'cause I was reading an article about the dangers of vaping.
Okay.
And he was like, "Oh, are you worried?" And I was like, "Well, not really, but I suppose I'm not wed to the idea of it. Maybe I should just not do it anymore."
Fair enough.
So we'll see how well that goes. I feel quite irritated right now. D, get on with the next part.
The next line of my script was, alright, shall we crack on then?
Perfect.
Okay, so do you want to kick us off this week, friends?
Well, I didn't ask how you were.
Oh,
How are you?
I'm fine, thanks. I'm doing okay. Just ticking things along, getting stuff done.
Ticking over, just nicely.
Yeah, just dreading that third year of university. That's coming up pretty fast, but I'm sure I'll manage.
Oh, it's going to be wild.
Yeah.
You're only in uni once.
Exactly. So, would you like to kick us off this
would,
week, friend?
yes. So, we wanted to do, what I was very much a proponent of was, let's talk about consciousness. Because that's right up my alley. That's right up my street. I love it. That's what I'm all about.
Hey, I think it's a good conversation.
So, without further ado, some problems in science are so hard, so deep or so elusive that we don't really know what meaningful questions to ask are. Or sometimes whether these problems are even truly solvable by science. Are they even in the same field as, are they playing the same game as
I
science?
suppose, yeah.
Is there a God?
Ooh.
Is there such things as ghosts or a soul? When did time start and when will it stop?
Ooh.
If we run out of time, where does it go? Is time even real? Does anyone know? And what are birds? So consciousness is one of these questions. Some researchers think it's an illusion.
I mean, maybe, yeah.
Others say it permeates everything. Some scientists try to reduce it to the underlying biology of neurons and the brain. Others say that it is an irreducible phenomenon. Understandably, a phenomenon such as consciousness is resistant to scientific testing as it's only ever a subjective first-person experience by an individual.
Mm-hmm.
So you can never really compare your experience with another because, you can't directly compare them.
Yeah, I suppose nothing's directly comparable.
So instead we have to look for hallmarks, ways that we can deduce what's going up in there, mate. So this has led to two schools of thought, no pun intended. Mm-hmm. Global workspace theory, or GWT, and panpsychism.
Okay.
You like the sound of that?
Okay.
I'll elaborate on each, but first let's delve into some more of the background. The question of what kinds of things are conscious is one of the deepest and most engrossing problems in all of science, and even philosophy. I think, therefore I am, all that stuff.
Yeah.
So philosophers have pondered the nature of consciousness and whether it arises in things other than humans for thousands of years. But the question is becoming increasingly salient as artificial intelligence grows increasingly sophisticated. Soon it might become impossible to tell whether you're interacting with a human or a machine. But what does that mean for AI? Don't they deserve moral and ethical considerations? Switching off an AI may amount to murder. So how could we know with no solid idea of consciousness? I mean, don't get me wrong, plenty of processing takes place outside of conscious awareness. As we've discussed on a previous episode, electromagnetic fields and sound waves can induce anxious moods in people. So you can be under anesthetic as well. Or you can meditate to have nothing passing through your mind.
Talking about this, was pretty spooky.
Yeah. So, stuff like, say, meditation, the thoughts happen, but you let them go, which means that you aren't the thoughts. You are something else. Like, you experience the thoughts of you, but you aren't those thoughts. So, like, consciousness seems to exist outside of the actual thoughts that are happening. So under anesthesia, there must be some way of that. If you're blackout drunk, you're still conscious at the time, but you're not recording anything. So you seem to lose patches. But it's really strange. There's a range of ways that you can experience. But a distinguishing feature of human minds is that we can hold on to a piece of information, an idea or an intention, as motivation for subsequent decisions and behaviours. So being able to have that attention on something and use that to motivate what's happening and to remember things to guide yourself in the future. So if we're hungry, we salivate as a reflex, a reptile brain. Like when you open your mouth and it just goes out from underneath your tongue.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean, but
I get very embarrassed by that. So sure, that happens, but we might also choose to get up, go to the kitchen, and make Amber's signature bolognese sauce. Just add a teaspoon of onion salt, garlic salt, chili powder, and celery salt for that zing. Banging.
Did you just give us a recipe for spag bol?
That wasn't a joke either. That's actually what I do for spag bol. It's really nice. Celery salt is really the thing. You just put in a bit of celery salt. It brings out the flavour.
I'll make a bit of a mental note for that one. I've got to try that at some point.
Yeah. So some researchers suggest that this conscious behaviour of making the bolognese arises when we hold a piece of information in a global workspace within the brain. So that's basically a place where it can be broadcast, open channel to all the brain departments. The memory, all the senses, the emotions, all that sort of stuff. So basically every part of the brain has like a specific task, or it has a range of tasks. And it just broadcasts open network just to everything. Like a single piece of information.
Makes sense.
So that's what it means by global workspace. So this is the first school of thought, global workspace theory. The idea is that this workspace imposes an information bottleneck. So only when the first conscious objective slips away can another take its place. So it's kind of like your attention can only be focused on one thing at a time. Obviously, people can multitask and stuff, but they're superheroes, so I'm not even going to include that in there. According to Stanislas Dehaene of the Collège de France in Paris, brain imaging studies suggest this conscious bottleneck is a distributed network of neurons in the brain's prefrontal cortex. This doesn't really mean anything to anyone who doesn't understand anything about brains. I don't know what this means.
I get a little bit.
So, what I'm going to do is talk about this region called the colostrum in a future episode. You bet your bottom I'm going to give you the background on that eventually.
Ooh.
But not right now. That's got its own episode.
Thoughts for the future. You'll have to stay tuned.
Set myself up.
I like that plug there.
Yeah.
Yeah, nicely done.
You tune into episode... and it's right there. Look at that, I can tell the future. So in this idea, consciousness is created by the workspace itself. So the fact that there is an interconnectedness, a communication across everything, that's what generates the consciousness. So every part of your brain being aware of every thought that's happening, coming through your attention, and then that means that your entire brain can focus on something.
That makes sense.
So that would mean, though, if it was created by the workspace itself, it would be a feature of any information processing system that can broadcast information to other information processing centers within the system. So one part of the brain has information about your senses. This is broadcast to other parts, like your memory center. The memory center has some stored information about this kind of stimuli, so it broadcasts that info back to inform a response to that stimuli. You smell a smell, and then your body goes, oh yeah, actually, I should make that when I get home, and then it'll influence you to make a decision to be more likely to grab something off a shelf.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You walk through the bakery section or something like
Yeah.
that. So it can basically, the fact that it's open broadcast means you can decide things. So there must be a way that it feels like to be, say, an ant. You got pheromones, you got sensory information and stuff like that, and it's all broadly available in the ant brain as it is in a human brain. So the ant must be having some kind of experience of things.
Yeah.
Because it goes, oh, I've smelt pheromone and now I do the thing.
Yeah.
In the same way that you go, oh, I must remember to do that, and then you decide to go and do something. The ant does that as well. So there must be a way that it is to be like an ant.
I guess, yeah, that makes a lot of sense, yeah.
And in turn, surely the same can be said for an AI. And I'm sure you're going to elaborate on this. But,
I will, don't worry.
So I'm not saying that a calculator has an experience, because it's just one process. It's just an algorithm. It's not like sophisticated. But if it had multiple dedicated information processing modules, and each informs the others to guide the next choice of the system, then there must be a way that it feels like to be that AI. It must be having some kind of experience.
Yeah, it's an experience, yeah.
So that's global workspace theory.
Mm-hmm.
If that turns out to be true, then obviously that would be true for AI, but there are competing theories as well. There's a similar theory that is generally the same, but it's a little bit more specific. So it's called Integrated Information Theory, so IIT.
Yeah.
It's a sort of modified version of GWT. So this specifies that turning inputs into outputs, like the calculator, wouldn't produce a conscious experience. So it's not about the information processing, but the causal power of a system to make a difference to itself. So I'll elaborate on that because that just sounds like a lot of words. So IIT states that consciousness is a system's ability to be acted upon by its own state in the past to influence its own future.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So the more the system has this ability to influence itself, basically have agency, make decisions, free will, you could call it, the more conscious it is.
Yeah.
So the more free will it exhibits, the more conscious it is.
Yeah.
So I think, therefore I amber. Right? And so this then has the opposite conclusion about AIs. When information is just fed forward, so information being converted into outputs, there will be no consciousness. It's just a deterministic thing happening. Basically, unless AIs were given the right architecture, they'd never become conscious.
Yeah.
So no matter how well they pass the Turing test, a researcher made this comparison, it's like gravity in a video game. You don't actually create gravity, actual gravity, that way.
Yeah.
But it, for all intents and purposes, within the system, it appears to be gravity.
Yeah.
It follows the rules of
follows
gravity.
The same rules as gravity.
Yeah. But wait, there's more.
Oh.
Sorry, I'm just waffling right on.
No problem. It's very interesting stuff.
Here, we here on the Phenomenauts podcast like to get a little bit spooky.
We do. That's true.
I second this. A little bit beyond the norm. So let me lay a third theory upon your bad self.
Okay.
Panpsychism.
Okay.
Now that word has got all the nuggets of
It
what we're looking
sounds
for.
pretty fancy.
The idea that consciousness is an intrinsic, fundamental property of reality itself. And I've had a very fun time discussing this topic with a lot of friends and even co-workers. I'm sure they didn't enjoy that so much when they were trying to get on with work. They did go out to smoke quite often to escape me. But, so I don't mean to say that consciousness is spread evenly everywhere in this idea. While it could be attributed to everything, so it is everywhere, a significant amount can only be found in particular things, such as the human brain. So consciousness as we know and love it exists in brains like ours. But there is an amount of consciousness in smaller things like, say, an ant, but it's such a tiny wisp that it would be unrecognizable to us. And then even lower, bacterium, absolutely. It would appear not to be consciousness.
Sorry.
But the bacteria can decide to do things. The slime mold.
The slime mold that we talked about last week, so totally check that episode out if you're interested in different intelligences.
Yeah. And I threw my own spin on this, so I want to throw this one at you. It's kind of BS, but I thought about it last week as a kind of possibility space.
Ooh.
I think maybe I just wanted to say that phrase.
I mean, it sounds fancy.
So the universe has a level of randomness about it.
Yep.
So heck, even the fabric of space-time fizzes with dark energy.
Yep.
Possibility. But get a human, they can do almost infinite different things because they can decide to do things. We create fusion reactors. We write notes for a podcast. we stack houses of cards. Like, the cards don't leap up into a house of cards. We stack them.
We do that, yeah.
So the universe would be hard-pressed to create this many scenarios without an agent to drive that, who's seemingly got free will or a consciousness to do that. So if you think about us having more consciousness inside us because we have a brain, it means that we have more of that cause and effect power. Pay no heed to the powers of entropy. Charge that battery. Form those molecules. Humans can create such impossible things. The universe couldn't pop a fidget spinner into existence in deep space. The level of cause and effect power of agency in the rest of the universe is unrecognizable to the kind that we experience.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
The moon isn't changing just randomly.
Yeah.
It just sits there. It's just a rock. It doesn't do anything. Mm-hmm. And if there's a level of consciousness associated with that, it would be very low because it doesn't seem to be having any cause and effect power. It follows cause and effect as if it's deterministic.
Yeah.
Things just happen.
Yeah.
But a human, we appear to be able to just defy the flow of things.
So you're telling me as humanity defies reality?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
We're just like, reality,
It's pretty cool.
not even once.
Yeah, that's fair.
But wait.
Go on.
Come on. So, in our brain, we feedback, inform, guide, remember, choose, change. The universe has this to a tiny degree, so there's like quantum mechanics and stuff, but it effectively just follows a deterministic path. So we're doing it so the universe has the ability to do so. Like, the fact that we do this means that the universe has an ability to do this because we are the universe. We're doing it. But we're like, so this table's not making any important decisions. It just sits here and it does nothing.
Are you?
It's not writing any thought-provoking poetry. Sorry, table. Like, you're just not conscious enough, buddy. Sorry. But if there's any functional connectivity in the architecture of this table, like the glass molecules, like the crystals of glass and stuff, then it has some level of experience and in turn consciousness, because it'll flex. It'll follow like stress laws and bend back into position and stuff. Things will be transmitted through it. It will react to things that are happening outside. So in some way, on a very, very tiny level, it could possibly have some kind of consciousness associated with it.
I suppose.
That's what panpsychism says. Anyway.
Interesting.
So panpsychism also states that machines, if their architecture allows it, would have consciousness too. The more that interconnected they are, the more they can inform their own actions, and not just in a linear fashion, like just feeding forward, the more conscious they would be. But I'm sure you can tell us all about that. So I'd like to just end my section with a quote. I thought it was very nice, actually. So it's a quote from Professor Potgeier. I don't think we are going to come to a single theory that tells us everything about consciousness. But if it were to take 100 years to solve the mystery of consciousness, I hope we can cut it down to 50.
I like that. I like that a lot.
You know, he's not saying, oh, we're going to crack it, we're going to do all this. He just goes,
We'll narrow it down a little.
I hope we can help.
Yeah. No, I like that a lot. No, that's a really good topic. That's really fascinating. Right. Should I just roll straight in?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, okay.
I've talked long enough.
So, this week I brought us something a little bit sort of generalistic, but I figured it's something we could go into because we've brought it up a few times but never really gone into it or explained it.
Yeah.
So I thought, let's talk about AI, right?
Yeah, AI starter pack.
Right? And, you know, I put in brackets in regards to computer science because there are lots of interpretations of the phrase artificial intelligence. So it's strictly defined by computer science. And I came up with a real simple way of putting it, which was just, machines doing a think. Because, you know, if I was to put it in like a computer doesn't really do a think. It doesn't think about the thing. You just tell it to do it and it does it.
Yeah, I mean, it's so ingrained in like popular culture AI now that if you didn't get it, that would be the best way of doing it. A computer that's thinking like you are.
And there is so many facets to it, and there is a better explanation, not just a me explanation, which is artificial intelligence is a simulation of human intelligence processes completed or done by machines.
Okay.
But what does that actually mean? Like, what does that actually mean?
Yeah.
Well, in simulating human intelligence, the processes involved that we know of are learning, reasoning, self-correction. That all good stuff. That all makes sense. That all follow logic.
Yeah, learning I think is a big one because machine learning's a thing now.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, we tend to classify AI into weak/narrow, so just use either, it doesn't matter, and strong. And narrow or weak AI is designed and trained to do a specific task. So you got your virtual assistants, your Siri, your Cortana.
They just search, they organise.
Yeah, they sort of speak your weight machines. You tell them what you want and they do it.
Thin boys.
Yeah,
Got you.
A strong AI, pretty buff, been working out,
boy.
swole, can take an unfamiliar problem and solve it without any kind of human intervention. But to slam on the brakes there a little, there aren't really any examples of strong AI yet.
Got you.
But,
So that would be a learning AI.
But a few people have speculated that it may be developed between 2030 or 2045. So maybe we're this close.
That is right around. That's
That
like
is
10
that
years
is around the
from
corner.
now,
That is around the corner. Now, there's 4 main types of AI that I found when I was looking stuff up. And I'll just go through them each by each, and we'll go do it that way.
Okay.
So type 1 is you've got your reactive machines. Reactive machines react. But the easiest way to put it is I'm going to give you a good example. So Deep Blue was a chess program developed by IBM in the mid-1980s, which can identify the pieces on the board and make predictions about what moves it should take, and what possible moves an opponent may make. It's worth noting that Deep Blue doesn't actually have any kind of memory, which is what makes it reactive. It's not working off a memory set, it's just working off... it's reacting to the situation.
Okay.
That makes sense?
Every time someone moves a chess piece, it reacts to that. It doesn't remember what moves you've already made.
Seemingly,
so you could outplay it because you could set it up.
I don't know.
Like it would go, I'll do this, and you go, yeah, well, any human could have seen 3 moves back and known that I was about to do this.
I don't know. I genuinely don't know.
Yeah, like I said as well, if you hold a piece of information and you let it guide your actions, that wouldn't be doing that, would it? Not conscious.
Make a good point, yeah. So you got type 2. You got the limited memory machines, which use past experience to inform future decision making. Yeah. When you said it, I was like, oh, this sounds familiar.
Oh, go on, lay it on me.
Yeah, so a really good example of this would be self-driving cars. They utilise pre-programmed information and observational data to problem solve because they need to properly understand how to drive while also dealing with road hazards and constantly shifting scenarios. So, they need to be able to... I could put it in air quotes, but remember. Functionally, the machine remembers.
Wow. A car never forgets, as they say.
And I'll crack on with...
I'm sorry, just...
Yeah.
I can just imagine a car, you just... really messy, fall out of the club, you got sick on you and stuff, and you just fall into the back of your self-driving car, and it's driving you home, and it's like, Amber, and I'm like, what? What is my purpose? You drive me home from the club. Oh my god. Just crashes into a wall.
Oh god. Oh wow. But yeah. So, reactive machines react, and limited memory machines kind of have a limited memory. Yeah.
That's right, we didn't confirm before we did this, so the fact that we landed on similar things.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's cool.
Now, before I get you too giddy and excited, the remaining 2 types are pretty out there and don't actually exist yet. Okay. So just bear that in mind. Type 3, theory of mind, which sounds very, very fancy, is essentially decision-making equivalent to a human mind, but by a machine. This type of AI would actually have a much better understanding of who's interacting with it, so understanding their needs, their emotions, their beliefs, that sort of thing.
Like Her from the movie Her.
I haven't seen the movie Her. I know I need to see the movie Her.
You want to talk about AI? You will love it.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Watch it.
Last one is type 4, which is self-awareness, which should be pretty obvious, At this point, AI would have a sense of self with independent thoughts and feelings. And
like a true AI.
Yeah, that's kind of where you reach that point where it's breached and it's a free thinking thing.
It's a synthetic mind.
Yeah. Which, yeah, that is kind of it really. Those are the 4 main types, and there's pretty good examples for each. We don't have type 3 or 4.
Yeah. So it is just weird. So the type 1, where it just kind of responds. It just does things. It's an algorithm-based thing. Something happens.
Sorry, I just smacked my tooth on my glass. Ow. Carry on.
How dare you? Oh wait, yeah, okay, right. So this is going to be a future episode. I've already started writing notes for it. I won't spoil anything, but it's basically talking about how if you can attribute meaning, basically if you can rank things by importance and then distinguish between them, that is a very big thing. So computers, you can, you know, that reactive model type 1,
Yeah.
probably it goes, be more wary of this. Don't care so much if they do that, but if they do something that puts you in jeopardy in the chess match, take more notice of that. So it's ranking things.
Yeah.
So then, basically, if you have like a level 3 or level 4, type 3 or type 4 AI, and it's being able to decide what importance it wants to rank data, you know, parts of its experience.
Decision making.
Is effectively what humans do. So, you know, you got a baby, they don't know anything, and before they even know language or anything like that, they crawl around and they'll like put stuff in their mouth. Things will taste nasty and they go, rank that one real down low there.
Yeah.
Oh, look, my mum gave me a hug, like, you know, hi. Obviously, I want to try and get that as much as possible. If I don't have it, cry because I don't like things. I don't like not having someone give me a hug, and then they give you a hug, and then you go, oh well, I'll stop crying because the important thing, everything's fine. I've got that hug now. I like being warm, food, whatever. Before you even like know language or anything like that, you know how to distinguish between things. It's just an innate ability.
Yeah.
And I feel like that is surely closely related with consciousness. The fact that you can distinguish between things, so you place importance on what you need to be paying attention to. So I'm not really paying attention to very specifically a chunk of that wall over there because that's just not important.
Yeah.
So I've zoned it out.
You've like ranked it lower in that list of priorities.
In the same way, you can have like a clock ticking near you, and your brain just eventually goes, just don't listen to that, and it's just gone. Because it's simply not important. You couldn't even filter through the cacophony of sensory information if you couldn't focus your attention on something. So that's what I meant by like hold a piece of information, use it to guide you. You can focus your attention and go, I am like aware because I am like actively paying attention to one thing as opposed to everything all at once.
Oh, yeah. That makes good sense.
So as soon as you got an AI that can decide for itself what it thinks is more important than other things and focus on things and zone out other things, it's effectively a person, isn't it?
Yeah. And
if those, you know, got a frontal processor and like, you know, the cerebral processor here and the prefrontal processor, and they're all broadcasting information to each other, and it's all feeding together, and it's being able to change its own process as it goes. It's effectively the exact same as a brain.
Yeah. And I mean, we've no idea what kind of experience that particular consciousness would have either, because like one of the things limiting the human brain is its size. You know, it's got to fit in a very specific tiny case.
Yeah, it's like wrinkled.
Yeah, it's got all those wrinkles, and it's got to fit. Like it's got to fit in your skull. It sits there.
Yeah, there's an evolutionary disadvantage to having a bigger brain because it would cost more energy to run, and you'd have a big swollen melon head.
And this was one thing I was reading when I was doing some AI research, which was just that we can make an AI bigger than a human brain.
Oh,
like that's
you could have doable. A little like the head of a pin, and it's just got the same processing power as like, you know, many people. Not right now, but in the future.
No, exactly. And, you know, it really is kind of, you know, there's a lot that could happen.
And apparently, if you go off the logic in Chappie, have you seen Chappie? You can probably render someone's brain on like 20 PS3s or something. Just hook loads of PS3s up and just render someone's brain on it.
Yeah.
Apparently. I don't think that you can do that.
All right.
If someone does do that, I'll be very impressed. Please.
I don't know how you'd do that.
Because you can hook up PS3s because of they've got a cell processor as opposed to the normal like PC architecture.
Okay.
You actually can hook them up and they multiply together.
Okay.
So they literally become more cores. Okay. So if you get like 10, there was a lot of it was in the news where they were like, oh, we did this scientific discovery. Oh yeah, this was all rendered on PS3s because we couldn't afford a supercomputer, but you just go and buy a couple of PS3s, you got a supercomputer right there. It's crazy.
That's actually pretty cool. I did not know that.
There you go.
Well,
when you're walking around and there's an AI walking around with a big toaster for a head, it's the launch, the official like original PS3, the big like, you know, George Foreman grill. And he's just like processing.
Oh,
It's all good.
yeah.
I don't know what I'm talking about.
You got anything else you want to add?
Quitting smoking is difficult.
I mean, yeah, that must be real tough.
I think I might go and vape.
Fair enough.
Just a little bit.
Well, should I head us off then?
Please.
So, from consciousness to AI, and back again. That's it from us this week, folks. Don't forget about our initiative. Introduce the podcast to anyone who you think might enjoy it. Let us know your names either in the YouTube comments or email us at phenomenautspodcast@gmail.com. And we'll give you a shout out live on air. So I'll catch you all next week, folks, and peace out.
Peace be upon you. This is the voice of Rillon. Do you remember that one?
I do remember that one. That was a good one.
Of Rillon.
Oh,
The Star Collective.
that was a good episode.
I felt like I was waffling a lot, but it is a very abstract.
No, I think actually you got some real good examples, and that actually really helped to define the topic and sort of pin it down.
Surely, right. Describing the types of AI, I think, is quite good because it nails it down.
That's the thing.
Up to that
yeah.
point, what I'd said was very vague, like just waffle. It was pure waffle.
Yeah, but you were literally talking about metaphysics. It really isn't easy.
Grab that golden syrup. This is pure waffle.
I mean, you were talking about like consciousness and like super big concepts. It's really hard to nail that down.
In fairness, I did open it with some questions are too big for science, but Amber reckons that she can have a good go at it. Yeah, well.